Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and it's Overreaction Monday after the Las Vegas Raiders 27-14 win over the Denver Broncos. I know that there were some fans out there that wanted the Las Vegas Raiders to lose this game because it gives you a better draft pick, but here's the real business here. If you wanted Antonio Pierce to be the head coach, this is a must-win football game. And I'm a big believer in karma, and the fact that the silver and black were able to ride out into the sunset on a high note speaks volumes to how much this team, in a game that literally did not mean anything, how much this team was willing to go out there, put their bodies on the line in a game that, again, did not mean anything, but it meant everything for Antonio Pierce and this entire coaching staff. I salute to every single one of those guys that went out there and tried to ball out today, but also kept the streak alive. It has been 1,471 days since the Broncos have beaten the Raiders. In fact, the Denver Broncos have never beaten the Las Vegas Raiders. Give me an FDEM down below. Antonio Pierce, after this win, is 5-4 as a head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. He deserves to be the head coach of the Silver and Black. I'm going to give this one 3 just win babies. And I'm going to say believe it, baby, / I do think it's pretty likely that he could end up being the head coach. And here's my real talk to you, right? For a lot of people that watch this show a lot of the time, you probably have already heard me giving my 2 cents on this. The Raiders beat the Chiefs. That's resume builder number 1. This Raiders defense continues to show that it's getting better and better and better underneath Antonio Pierce. And the last time the Raiders defense allowed less than 20 points per game in a season, you got to go all the way back to 2002. When the Raiders made the Super Bowl caliber defense. If you believe that defenses win championships, right now the Raiders have a Super Bowl caliber defense with Antonio Pierce, with Patrick Graham. However, though, on top of that, the Raiders offense has struggled. I do not put blame on AP. Like, that's not AP's job to get this offense going. Yes, I know if you're the head coach, it's your job. If you're the interim head coach, I'm not going to hold you responsible. AP is a defensive-minded guy. The defense has improved with Antonio Pierce as a head coach. We can all agree on that. On top of that, though, the Raiders did not commit a penalty tonight. And it's only the second time, first time in Raiders history. But, man, when you think about stats, right, like, and that's a lot of times how I am in this business, where sometimes stats, there's some things out there, and according to the Raiders PR, the Raiders finished with 0 penalties today. It was the second game this season with 0 penalties. Great. The 2023 Raiders are just the 7th team in NFL history since 1960 to have 2 games in a single season with 0 penalties. The first time since 2013 underneath the New England Patriots. Both of those games came in 9 games with Antonio Pierce. Pierce is clearly coaching up this team. This team is clearly playing for AP. However, at 5-4, is it smarter for Mark Davis to go with AP over Jim Harbaugh? Like, if Jim Harbaugh's not in the equation, it's 4 just win babies. But because a guy like Harbaugh, who has won every single place he has gone, coaching San Diego in college, coaching Stanford, coaching the 49ers, coaching the Michigan Wolverines, NFL college, he has won every single spot he has gone on. And it's only between 2 names as far as I'm concerned. But legitimately, y'all, who do you want to be the next Raiders head coach? Type AP for Antonio Pierce. Type JH for Jim Harbaugh. My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. I will still stand up here and say that I believe that Antonio Pierce is the right man for the job. However, I will say the only way that I want AP back is if you also bring back Patrick Graham. Like, to me, it's a package deal. The way that AP gets brought back is if you're able to keep all the Raiders' current coaching staff together. And I know the report that came out earlier in the week that said that the Raiders staffers coaching, they were able to go out. They're able to look for other opportunities. However, the way I want AP back is if you bring this staff back. If Patrick Graham, let's say, goes somewhere else, he gets a head coaching job, which I think he actually deserves. If Patrick Graham just goes to another team, I will take Jim Harbaugh over Antonio Pierce. And one of the things that really upset me tonight with Antonio Pierce that he did up against the Broncos was he put in Jimmy Garoppolo. And I know a lot of people on social media, Twitter, Instagram, were like, Mitch, you're overreacting. Aiden O'Connell hurt his index finger. What are they supposed to do? The correct answer is you put in anybody else besides Jimmy G. And the reason why I say that is because if Jimmy Garoppolo would have gotten injured against the Broncos, he's on the books next season, locked and loaded. That handicaps whoever the next head coach is. And to me, in order to be a good head coach, it's not always just looking at it week to week. You got to look into the future. And I was really disappointed that AP decided to put in Jimmy Garoppolo. And one of the things that I was preaching was you should have made Brian Hoyer an available reserve player tonight instead of making him inactive. Even though Jimmy G only went in there for a few games, imagine if Garoppolo would have gotten hurt because, again, only 5-6 snaps, but it's Jimmy Garoppolo, a quarterback that has gotten hurt more than any QB probably in the last 5 or 6 years in the NFL. I was really disappointed that AP made that decision. Luckily, it didn't bite him in the butt because I'm telling you right now, if Jimmy G would have gotten hurt, I would have stepped up here on the show and said AP's not ready to be a head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, here's the thing, man. It's the offseason. It's a little bit bittersweet. I love doing watch parties. I love being able to hang out with the nation. Believe me when I tell you all that. And I just want to say thank you. That's my preach here. Thank you so much for tuning in to Jeremy Chugs and I every single week, watching what we do here on the show. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the hell out of that. If you think Raider Nation's a family, subscribe. If you want to stay up to date on everything going on around the Raiders, head coaching, OC, quarterback discussion, hit that subscribe button. It's going to be one hell of an off season. Let's go to the next story here on Overreaction Monday, and it's the Raiders need to trade up for a quarterback. As it stands right now, and this is where the Raiders are going to be picking in the 2024 NFL Draft, they're going to be picking at 13 overall. I'm going to give you my answer of whether or not I think the Raiders should trade up for a QB after I tell you about our awesome sponsor here, Prize Picks. And if anybody hasn't got started, I don't know what I need to do, man. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. All you got to do is pick 2+ players, choose more or less on those players. And for me this week, I told y'all when I was live, I did not put any money down on Raiders Broncos for the simple fact of if I don't know exactly what's going to happen, and that's before the game starts, more of a I don't know who's going to play. I don't know who was not going to play, how much the Raiders are going to try to win, how much the Broncos are going to try to win. But I know this. Michigan and Washington are both going to be playing balls to the wall. So here are my picks for this game. I put down $10. I have an opportunity to win $120. And I'll tell you what, for 3 hours, put down 10, I have a chance to win 120. I don't care who you are out there. That's money well spent as far as I'm concerned. Michael Penix Jr., give me the more on him. Blake Corum, I went less. Rone, give me the more. J.J. McCarthy, give me the more on him. If you want to ride with me, ride with me. If you want to fade me out. No matter what, though, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Easy and exciting daily fantasy. And I am going to be live today, a little bit later on, for Michigan, Washington National Championship game. Hopefully, y'all are tuned in and partying with Chugs and I. But I'll tell you this, no matter what, if you put down some money on this game through Prize Picks, you're going to be locked and loaded. Whether you're a Michigan, whether you're a Washington fan, it doesn't really matter. So do the Raiders need to trade up for a quarterback? I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies and say that there is a probability, there is a chance that, yes, there's you should do it. Like, I really wanted the Raiders to have a Caleb Williams. I really wanted the Raiders to have a Drake May. I really wanted the Raiders to be able to go out and find themselves a Jaden Daniels. And to me, those are your top 3 quarterbacks in this year's class. However, I have watched a lot more tape on Michael Penix Jr. over the past, I'll say, 72 hours. And I am falling in love more and more with Penix Jr., where I don't think that he's a top 13 pick. Like, I'm not taking Penix Jr. at number 13 overall. That I do not really think is a very smart decision. We'll see what ends up happening in the Natty, and I don't really think my opinion is going to change on that because I do see the NFL as being a recency biased type of league where he might be good. And I anticipate he's going to be great tonight against Michigan, if I'm being honest with y'all. But I do think that the injury history, with him being 24 years old, there's going to be some red flags out there that might drop him down a little bit in the draft. And to me, I get it. You're at 13, but in order to trade up for the Raiders right now, and I'm going to make a video this week, I'm going to forecast for the Raiders to trade up to 13 to, let's say, 1. It's going to be 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and a player like Devontae Adams. That's a lot. You want to trade up to number 3? I don't think it's going to happen because it's already been reported that the team's picking at 2 and 3, which right now it goes Chicago Bears, Washington Commanders, New England Patriots. 2 out of those 3 teams in terms of Commanders and Patriots have already confirmed that they're going to be drafting a quarterback. If the Bears want to keep Justin Fields, they can keep Justin Fields. If they don't want to keep Justin Fields, that's kind of where this conversation goes. Should the Raiders trade up for a QB, yes or no? I think where it stands right now, the only way you're trading up for a QB is if you go up to number 1. And for the Raiders to go up to number 1, I actually think it's even more than 3 firsts, 3 seconds, it's probably 2/3, and a player like Devontae Adams. For my blood, it's a little bit too much. I would actually rather the Raiders trade for a player like a Justin Fields. You get him for a 3rd-round pick. Maybe you pay him a 2nd, or you go out and you trade back from 13 and try to get yourself a Michael Penix Jr., or you try to get yourself a Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy in the 3rd round type of QB. So to me, should the Raiders trade up for a QB? I want them to if the price is right. I just don't think that that's going to be the right way to go, unfortunately, because of where they're currently picking. Let's go to the final story here on the Raiders Report, and there's no need to bring back Josh Jacobs. This one is for just win babies. Believe it, baby. JJ will be a Raider forever in my book. The first ever touchdown I ever saw in Oakland, one of the biggest reasons why I'm a Raider fan, was that first game in Oakland when the Raiders took down the Denver Broncos back in 2019 on Monday Night Football, and Jacobs was the first person to score a touchdown, and I can remember it clear as day, man, partying in the black hole. But the reason why I say that there's no need to bring back Jacobs is because what I think he's going to make. If Josh Jacobs asks for over $7, $8 million a year, you let him go sign somewhere else. The reason why people should bring back a running back like Jacobs is if you're in your Super Bowl win now mode, right? Like you're a running back away from competing for a Super Bowl. It's not that I don't like JJ. It's just that's just not where the Raiders are currently at. You have bigger needs right now on the offensive side of the football. You have bigger needs on the defensive side of the football. Like to me, you could get a back like a Blake Corum. You could get a back like a Donovan Edwards. You could get another running back in the 3rd, 4th round that you'd be able to pair with a guy like Zamir White. And, you got to give Zamir White his flowers. He's been really good since stepping in for Jacobs, and he has proven that, hey, man, I might not be a bell cow type of back, but I can be a legit running back in the NFL if you just give me a little bit of time. So this is not so much ripping on Jacobs. If anything, it's me righting my wrongs and taking my L on Zamir White because he has proven the more and more work he gets, the better and better he looks at the running back position. So speaking of Blake Corum, speaking of J.J. McCarthy, speaking of Jim Harbaugh, I'm going to be live later on tonight. The game starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be going live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Washington, Michigan. At the end of the day, man, I'm hoping for a good game. I'm hoping for a good game here with Chugs and I. I originally took Washington to win. Chugs originally took Michigan to win. But I'll tell you this, if you told me right now Jim Harbaugh is going to be the head coach of the Raiders, which I'm telling you all right now, there is a 0% chance that Harbaugh returns to Michigan if you've been following that story closely enough because of the NCAA and everything that they're doing. Win or lose, Harbaugh is going to the NFL. Maybe it's the Chargers. Maybe it's the Bears. Maybe it's the Raiders. They've been having backdoor communications with him for a long time. All I hope for, though, is a good-ass football game. I want to see Penix sling it. I want to see J.J. McCarthy looking good. I want to see both teams executing at a very, very high level. And I want a good game going into the 4th quarter. So if you want to tune in and you want to party with Chugs and I, tune in tonight. Washington, Michigan. But I got to know who you got.